Hey Pilates girlies, welcome back to another Pilates class. Today we'll be working with a fit ball and some 2-pound weights. If you don't have those at home, no worries, just grab a pillow and a couple of cans or heavy water bottles. That will do just fine. Whenever you're ready, let's roll out our mat and we'll get started in tabletop. Let's do some cat-cow. So we'll inhale and drop the belly, press the shoulders down away from the ears as we look up, and then we'll exhale, draw the navel back to the spine, curl the chin to the chest and look down. We'll repeat that, inhaling to look up, and then exhale, curl the spine and look down. One more time, inhale, and then exhale through the mouth. Let's now tuck the toes and peel into downward dog, driving those heels down. Step left leg to center, reach the right toes up to the ceiling. We'll exhale into three-legged plank, drawing that knee into the belly button into the spine. We'll curl and place the foot down. Let's take a second to stretch our hips, tucking the pelvis as we stretch forward, getting into that iliopsoas and the hip flexor on the left leg. We'll roll the shoulders back, take one more deep breath, and then plant the palms down on the mat. Reach right toes back up to the ceiling and we'll slowly lower that leg to center. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, shift into three-legged plank. We'll hollow out the belly to lift the knee and drop that left foot down to the mat. Let's come into our kneeling stretch here, again tucking the pelvis and then reaching forward. One more time, let's roll the shoulders back and lift the chest, taking a deep breath. And then we'll take our hands down to the mat. Press the ground away from you as you lift the left leg into three-legged plank and drive the toes up to the ceiling through three-legged dog. Lower that leg down. Let's start pedaling through the feet here, really stretching tailbone up to the ceiling, taking a second for our hamstrings, our Achilles, and our calves. And then we'll lift both heels and lower the knees back into tabletop. Grab that ball or pillow and we'll place it behind our right knee, planting that hand back down below the shoulder. Let's flex the right foot and drive the heel up to the ceiling with an exhale. Inhale, lower, back down. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Try to focus on keeping the spine long rather than dropping the belly down with each time we lift the leg. We'll go 3, 2, and 1. Let's hold at the top. Let's pulse it up and exhale, exhale, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and lower. Great job. Let's go to the side now for fire hydrants. Exhale, lift, inhale, lower. Try and keep the hips from rocking over to the left side too much, so we want to use our core to hold our hips on top of that left knee. We'll do 3, 2, and 1 of these. Holding at the top, we're going to rotate back behind us into that donkey kick and then open the hip back out to the side for that fire hydrant position. We'll exhale as we drive it back. Inhale as we open. Keep squeezing that ball tight and keeping that knee lifted as high as possible as we open and close the hip, but also try to make sure that both palms are planted down into the mat, pressed flat, so we're really activating the core, and lower. Okay, we can remove that ball now, placing it forward on the mat before we take it over to the left side to repeat that series. Flexing the foot, let's exhale and drive the heel up to the ceiling, imagining as if there were a button on the ceiling that we're trying to press with our heel rather than just rocking through that hip. And let's hold lifted on this last one. We'll pulse up and up. 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Go ahead and lower. Let's do those fire hydrants to the side. Exhaling to lift the knee. Inhale, lower. Again, focusing on not rocking too far over that right knee, but keeping the hip planted right on top of that bone. We also want to make sure that that left hip is pressed down away from left shoulder, especially as we rotate to the back and then pull that knee forward. This is where the low spine likes to rock, so let's make sure that we're pulling belly button back towards our lower spine to secure and stabilize. We'll do one more just like this, and then lower that knee down. Let's take that ball away from behind the knee. Cross the ankles behind you and we'll come down to sit on our glutes in the center of the mat before we reach for that ball one more time and place it between both legs. From here, go ahead and grab those 2-pound weights or water bottles, and we're going to start sitting up really tall before rolling vertebrae by vertebrae down to our back and pressing those weights into parallel above the shoulders. From here, let's press our lower spine into the mat as we peel the tailbone up into a full glute bridge and then roll vertebrae by vertebrae back down. After a couple of those, we'll start to add in some arm motions, reaching past our hips as we peel up and then inhaling on the way back down. Each time you lift the hips, let's focus on squeezing that ball between the knees to activate the inner thighs. As you repeat this motion, try to take those hips a little bit higher every single time that you bridge up and then we'll hold at the top. See if we can lift that right toe off the mat and then roll the foot back down. We'll alternate left. As we peel the foot off the mat, we want to try to keep those hips nice and still rather than rocking side to side. Breathe naturally here, in through the nose and then out through the mouth, and keep those weights hovering just a couple inches above the mat. Just a couple more. Lift those hips a little bit higher and then roll back down. Take those arms to parallel. We'll lower the elbows and then drop the weights to the side. Take that pillow or ball and place it overhead just for a second. We'll let the knees fall open, soles of the feet find each other in butterfly, and starting with an imprinted spine, we'll peel up to a butterfly, bridge up with an exhale, and then inhale, roll back down. So the resistance here comes from those heels squeezing together, activating both the inner thighs and the outer hips. Let's do this for 3 and 2. And on this last one, we're gonna hold up at the top and take little pulses, driving heels together and together to lift those hips, and then roll back down. Great job. Let's fold those knees together, walk the heels out just a little bit, and we'll take one roll up to sit. From here, make your way into a modified side plank, reaching the right arm all the way up to the ceiling, and then long overhead. We'll exhale and take some side kicks to lift, inhaling each time we lower that leg and focusing on keeping the core engaged so belly button is pulled back to the spine. We're not rocking those hips forward and back. We'll hold at the top here and pulse up and up. Little breaths in and out through the mouth. Let's take the hand to the hip now. We're going to take the toes forward and tap the front corner of the mat 1 or 2 times before we exhale to lift and rainbow, tapping the back of the mat. This is another place that it's really easy for the low spine to rock forward and back. We want to make sure our core is still engaged, hips are still stable as we're only moving that leg. Let's keep going just like this for 3, 2, and last 1. Hold that leg through center. Let's draw some circles towards the front to start. 4 and reverse. 2 and 1. Great job. Lower that leg down. We'll make our way all the way down to our hip and then extend our left arm long to rest our head. Taking that top hand to top hip, let's draw big circles with the right knee, forward, up, back, and down. We want to make sure here that both hips stay square to the wall in front of us rather than opening up to the ceiling each time we lift and draw that leg behind us. Let's do 3, 2, and then we'll reverse, drawing that knee back before we lift it up, carry forward and lower. Same thing with those hips. We want them squared off to the front. We want nice, easy breaths, so exhale as you lift, inhale as you lower. Let's do one more and rest. Great job, guys. Draw those knees back slightly. We'll lift the toes and open into butterfly before we extend that right leg. Tap the toes together and lower the knee. So butterfly extensions for 4, 3, 2, and hold that leg lifted on 1. We'll rest the bottom foot and tap the right toes to the ground and up. Each time we lower that right leg, we want those knees to line up on the right and left legs. This just helps us ensure that it's toning our muscles, lifting and lowering that leg rather than just rocking through the hips. So it's really important that those knees line up. And rest, fold the knees in. We're going to gently press up from here and take a quick second to stretch in pretzel. Let's take left hand and wrap that right knee looking behind us to find a little twist. We want to press that left hip down into the mat. We'll gently unwind and swing those legs to the other side. Starting off in that modified plank series, we reach that top arm up and overhead. Exhale, lift the toes and inhale, lower. We pull the belly button back to our spine during our side kicks to make sure that our spine doesn't swing forward and back. Let's do 2 and 1 more. Holding at the top, we'll take our hand to that hip and tap forward to the front corner of the mat before we exhale and rainbow to the back corner. Continuing to stabilize through those hips, let's do 4, 3, 2, and last 1. We lift the leg through center and take those little circles forward. 2, 3, 4, and reverse. 4, 3, 2, and last 1. Lower the leg down to the mat We'll come down on that hip and extend our arm all the way out underneath our head, folding the knees into 45-degree angles. We'll take those knee circles with that top leg, exhaling as we lift and draw the leg forward. Inhale as we lower. Let's circle in this direction for 3, 2, last one. We'll reverse those circles, drawing that knee back before we lift it up. With an exhale, carry forward, and inhale, lower down. Remember to keep pressing that top hip away from your top shoulder, but if you need that top hand for stability, just place it on the mat in front of you. We'll do one more, and rest. Last thing we're going to do on this side is lift those toes. Exhale, open the knees and extend that top leg before folding the feet together and then closing the knees. So butterfly extensions on this side. We want to make sure again that we're not opening the hips up to the ceiling as we lift the knee and straighten the leg, but that both hips remain square to the wall in front of us. Hold that top leg extended now, rest the bottom foot on the ground, and we'll lower and lift, again making sure that the knees line up perfectly as we tap the ground and that we use our exhale to get that leg back up. Let's do 2 more. And 1, fold that leg in, gently sit up, and we'll take that pretzel stretch on this side, hooking our elbow around the knee and really sinking that hip down into the mat as we relax into our twist. 1 more deep breath here, and then we'll unwind slowly. And let's make our way into tabletop, finding a neutral spine with the shoulders above the wrists before we tuck the toes and peel into downward dog. We're going to bend each knee, dropping that hip to stretch the outer thighs one last time before we press the hips back and shift into a plank. Let's make sure in our plank that our pelvis is tucked, and we'll squeeze the right glute to lift right heel up. Inhale, lower down, and repeat with that left side. Again, belly button is pulled back to the spine. We're really engaging our glutes and lifting our chest between our shoulders. Hold that right heel lifted. Let's pulse up and lower. Lift left and pulse. Lower down. That surely has our glutes fired up. From here, we're going to shift forward and take a little chaturanga all the way down to our bellies, stacking our forearms below our forehead and resting the head down. Flex that right foot, and keeping the pelvic floor in its alignment, we're going to lift and lower the heel, squeezing the hamstring and the glute on that right leg. Make sure that the knee and toes here stay face down to the mat rather than turning out to the side as we lift and lower. We'll do 1 more, release, and switch over to that left leg. Again, squeezing the hamstring and the lower glute as we lift and inhaling as we extend. And rest that left leg down. Let's flex both feet now. And last exercise of class, we want to try to keep those heels together, feet turned face down to the mat as we lift and lower both legs. Really squeezing those glutes. If you're having trouble feeling this one, just pull the belly button farther back towards the spine. Let's release the toes. We'll turn right foot out, resting that knee on the outside of the mat as we lift and lower the ankle to work through any tension that might have built up in that hip flexor or the lower back. Let's take a couple deep breaths as we keep going on this right leg, and then we'll extend and pull that left leg out to the side. Exhale, lift, and inhale, lower. And 1 more deep breath in and out. Slide that leg behind you. Let's press the palms into the mat and lift the hips into a downward dog, tucking those toes. Really stretch through the shoulders here. We're going to reach right leg forward and come into pigeon stretch, lowering to our forearms to really deepen our stretch in that left hip flexor. We want to make sure that we're taking plenty of time to relax through our stretches so that we can keep our body able to continue its movement every day. Let's press into the palms, tuck the toes, and peel back into downward dog. Stepping right foot to center so we can draw that left leg into pigeon on this side. Let's use this time to be so grateful for our hips and all of the crazy things we put them through every day, and they show up for us time and time again. To finish class, let's gently sit up into downward dog. We'll lift the heels and lower the knees into tabletop one last time and come to sit back on our heels. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for another class. Next up is a core series, so be sure that you stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.